All done that? Excellent. Okay, so just to familiarise yourself with Blender again, it is important where the cursor is. If you want to move an object or play an object or manipulate something in this window, then the mouse has to be within this small 3D window. If you want to add or modify Python code, the mouse has to be over this side in the code window. Okay, that's important. We don't actually need this as your shell at the bottom. If I move the mouse carefully to just about there, you can see it changes to a double arrow, and I can drag that down a bit. We don't need that bit. We also don't need this right hand side bit here, so I'm going to move that over a bit. Okay, just gives us slightly more space. Now, remember our main commands. To zoom is the wheel, and you just move the wheel forward or backwards, and that will zoom in and out. To pan, right, now you need the middle button, and the middle button is underneath that wheel that you just zoomed to. If you have to press down hard on the wheel while holding the shift key at the same time. So on your keyboard you hold down the shift key, and then with the mouse over this middle 3D section here you hold down the wheel, and then you can pan. So move left, right, up, down. I'm going to zoom in here. If you don't hold the shift key and you hold down the middle wheel, you 3D rotate as well. Okay. Now, last week we also went over some other controls. I'm not going to go through those now because you won't need them. You'll be doing this all through Python. The only one thing I will say is if you want to look at it from above, remember it is the 7 on your numpad, which is that, not the 7 above the alphabet keyboard side, the QWERTY side. If you press that one, it all vanishes. And then you have to go back to default, choose the right layer. This set of boxes here is layer control. Choose that, it brings it back. Go back to scripting. Right, okay. Now we've got this. It's quite important for this that we actually have one active domino. Now to do that, I'm going to choose the domino which is upright. I've actually named it domino as well, because if you look here, it says that's called domino, and just says no confusion, that's called tilt. So with domino highlighted, remember to highlight, you right click on it, and if we look, you can see very carefully that there's a small orange line dotted around when it's highlighted. So if I highlight something else, you see it's black. Now I right click on that domino and it's turned into an orange. That means it's highlighted, and I can see it says domino there. Okay, right, it's important that's highlighted. We're now going to go into our script. Now I've set this up for you already with a text editor. The first thing about Python, Python uses libraries. It's almost an infinite language. Anybody can write a library, and that library is a preset or pre-written set of instructions. Those instructions can be for anything, and the set of instructions we want are made for Blender. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the Blender Python library. By doing that, our Python will then know what we mean when we talk about, move objects and stuff. So import, import, space bpy for Blender Python. New line. Okay, that's the first part. Now, if I were to do an action, you'll actually see it's recorded above. So for example, if I were to duplicate this domino, up here, written in Python, if I right click on it, is the entire script for duplicating and moving. And if we read it, Blender Python OPS object duplicate move, so it's a duplicate and a move rather than just a duplicate on its own. And in here, the object duplicate, it's duplicating whichever object was highlighted. Is it linked? No. What's the mode? Translation, another word for moving, you should remember that. Transform, OT, transform, except that here's our X, Y and Z coordinates there. You see, mostly what I did was I moved it on the Y coordinate. I didn't actually want to move it on the X or the Z, but that's where my paradox error came in, and so on and so forth. And there's an awful lot of default commands. Now, I can copy that. So a quick tip is before I copy anything from here, if I press the A, I highlight everything, then A again, I highlight nothing. Otherwise you end up copying all sorts of stuff. I then right click, not left click, on the bit I want to copy, which will always begin with bpy dot. So it's this one here, and you can see it's down the bottom. Right click on it. I can then copy it. I'm just going to use Control C, Control V, but oops. And then Control V to paste. You also notice that it's done it in one huge long line there, and I can scroll to the end. If I want to view the whole thing on one line, that's called wrapping text. I can do that. There's a little button down here in the middle, and that wraps the text. So it all comes on one line. Now, the reality is I don't need all of that. Most of this is default settings. So I'm going to take all of that, highlight that much of it, and hit the delete key. Oops, okay, I made a mistake there, and it's useful to see. I moved the mouse over onto the wrong window. I was trying to hit the delete key, and because it was on the wrong window, it's trying to delete that domino, you see? Which I want to do anyway. Move the mouse over this side, hit the delete key. That's the D-E-L-E-T-E key, not the backspace key. And it goes. Okay, I didn't want that curly bracket, so I just wanted normal brackets. And there we go. So that is a simple command just to duplicate. That would work. If I highlight, make sure my domino is highlighted, and I run the script. Now the scripts themselves, you can see there's quite a lot of this bar. If I don't want all of that, and I'm moving over here, it's vanished. I can't see the run script. However, if I hold my mouse over this bar and I play with the wheel, it will come back in. I can move left or right. Right, on here I now hit run script. Looks like nothing's happened, but if I actually grab that, you'll see I've already duplicated. Remember, if you duplicate without moving, it duplicates in exactly the same space as before. Let's delete that. So that worked. That's great. Now I want to move it. So I think what we do is we do it one line at a time. Is if you now type import bpy, type either this command or try it the way I did it. So that's, you highlight it. Remember, it's Shift D if you want to duplicate. It will make the command for you. You can all, and then A again with the mouse up here to unselect, and then right click, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. In fact, if you left the X, Y, Z in, it would duplicate and move at the same time, but there's a reason I don't want to do that. Delete all of these defaults. You don't have to, it'll work if you just run the script at that point. It's just need to if you get rid of them. So let's try deleting all of those. And in fact, that will probably work. If I'm going to hash this out. If we run that, no, it didn't. Okay, just keep it to the simple. There we go, and just run that. I see why. I hadn't highlighted that domino. There we go. Make sure the domino is highlighted. Now run the script, and it's made a duplicate. Okay, if you do that, and just get that bit of script working, test it. Oh, if you want to test it, remember it's G, move the mouse over here, G for grab, and it will grab whatever's highlighted. I don't want this now, so I'm going to delete, and right click just to re-highlight that. Away you go, give that a try.